The Middle of the Pack podcast.
A lot of these influencers, and I don't do TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and your algorithm, my algorithm just throws running shoes at me all day long and tries to make me buy more of them.
And that's Ian O'Brien, our guest on episode 32 of the Middle of the Pack podcast. And we're going to be talking about running shoes, his running addiction. And we are going to cover a little bit about his running journey as well. This episode really is dedicated to running shoes, and we will be looking at it from the angles of everyday running, session interval running, race day running, and long runs. We cover a lot of brands, but really focusing on Saucony, or Saucony, as I learned to pronounce it from Ian, ASICS and Adidas. But we'll start off this week's episode by asking Ian, as we always do, about how he started running. This is episode 32 of the Middle of the Pack podcast.
I started about 16 years ago, I think around 2010. I had kind of a medical incident in 2009. I have a heart condition, so I had been kind of collapsed at work one day in 2009 and was taken off to hospital in an ambulance. This heart condition, which was properly diagnosed since, so it's just missing the valve. It's nothing, well, it's serious enough, but it doesn't stop me running, but I can't do marathons. So anyway, in 2010, I kind of started trying to get fit, and I was doing taekwondo. I actually brought my kids down to do taekwondo. And I was sitting there watching it. I said, look, if I'm sitting here watching it, I may as well give it a go, because I'd done karate as a child. So I went back and I did taekwondo with the kids and ended up really liking it in 2009. I started grading for kind of black belt and stuff kind of into the 2000s then, or 2010. So I started doing a bit of running just to keep fit for the taekwondo. I didn't mean to get hooked on the running, but I did, as we all do. So kind of 16 years later, I'm still doing both, but much prefer the running now than the taekwondo. So I teach more so than, I don't go fighting anymore. I'm too old for that and dislocate my shoulder and broke a few ribs doing it. So I said, no, I'll stick to the running. It's a lot safer and cheaper, because running is free, as we know. So yeah, I just started jogging in 2010. Ended up doing a race, I think maybe that year, a 5K down in Carrigtwohill in Barry's Court Castle. It's gone now. It's a lovely race, just kind of around the country roads. And you go back into the castle then, and they had as many cakes as you've ever seen in your life. So I kind of said, this is great. You can run for 5K. And then they feed you a load of cake afterwards. So I did it with two of my neighbours. One of them, it was all our first time ever running a race. So we did 5K. One guy never ran again. And the other guy went on to do Ironman and triathlons, so I was kind of somewhere in between. And I kind of just kept going for kind of 5 or 6 years, just doing 5Ks, never did more than 5K, didn't think I could. I said, Jesus, 5K is enough. Why would you want to run more than that? And then in 2016, I got kind of dragged into doing it. Remember Cork Marathon used to have the relay. So you do a leg of the relay, and it was kind of 7 or 8K, and it was the finishing leg. So I got the kind of the glory one crossing the finish line for 8K, and just, you think I had run 100 miles or something. I made such a big deal of running 7 or 8K. I thought it was amazing, and kind of got the bug a bit more after that then, and started taking the running a bit more seriously, because back then I was just running, I'd say I was on a cheap pair of Adidas €30 shoes from Lifestyle Sports or something, whatever the cheapest was. I just bought them, didn't realise there was actually, you could have 50 pairs of shoes as opposed to just one, but we'll come to that later. And 2017, I did a half marathon, kind of started upping it, did a 10K, did a 10 mile, and just gradually started increasing. So I did a half marathon in 2017 down in East Cork. It was in first year doing it, I think. They haven't run it since COVID, but it was a lovely one, really hilly, quite tough, but then finished on a nice flat. And again, I collapsed on the finish line with my heart condition, and I was taken off to hospital in an ambulance after the finish line. So my wife and son had been down watching me and thought I looked a bit wrecked coming in. I think it could have been just a mix of dehydration as well. It was a really hot day. It was August. I didn't really know what I was doing back then, because I didn't have a coach. I wasn't in a club. Didn't have a running group like we do now. I'd say I was just underfueled, underhydrated, and didn't know what happened. Anyway, the heart condition kind of kicked in and I collapsed at the finish line. Actually, I remember my son, there was a burger and a can of Coke for all the finishers, and I was in the medical tent, And my son kind of came in. He would have been, 12 or something at the time, 12 or 13. He said, "Dad, can I have your burger if you're not eating it?" He took my burger, and that was my last memory of the East Cork Harbour Marathon. And kind of after that, then I took a couple of years. I was just doing 5Ks, 10Ks, kind of taking it nice and easy. And then in 2020, when the COVID kicked in, we had nothing else to do, I started doing a bit more running. And I won €200 in a fantasy football competition in 2020. So I said I'd treat myself to a pair of the carbon shoes had just been kind of coming out. So the Vaporflies, but I brought the Brooks Hyperion Elite 1 because I was wearing Brooks at the time. I said, sure, I'll just go with the carbon version. And up to then, I had one pair of shoes. That was it. I'd run all day, every day in one pair of shoes. And then I bought these. I went, oof. I was able to do PBs, 5K, 10K PB again on my own because there was no races at that time. And then I kind of started doing a bit of coaching through the Garmin app, which is really good because I'd never done intervals. I was just running as you do initially. And then when I started doing a bit of training and I got faster, so I had the carbon shoes, a bit of training. And then when the races started coming back in 21, I signed up with a coach, Aoife Cook, who was at the top of her game back then. She was doing a lot of coaching, obviously qualifying for the Olympics. And again, she just changed everything I did. It was really good. And I just couldn't believe, again, I'm not fast. Obviously, look, I'm on the middle of the pack podcast, so I'm not front of the pack. And I was always kind of middle. But even since then, I just got faster with everything I did. PB'd every single distance, I'd say, within 6 months with Aoife. And kind of started buying a couple of more pairs of shoes. And like all addictions, one thing led to another. And yeah, I am where I am now with kind of 50 odd pairs of shoes.
And
I just loved it.
They do say about addiction is the first sign is really once you admit it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
because you have that reputation.
There. Yeah, I do. So like even this morning when I met you, there was people coming up. I think 2 people came up to me asking me about they have a voucher for John Buckley's. What shoes should I get now? And I want this and I want that. But people just do like I have no expertise. Like I don't work in the industry. I'm not in the sports or retail industry. I just happen to be a bit obsessed about shoes and buy a lot of them. And look, I tend to try not to buy them full price. I either get them on sale or the other time I might get a voucher from work and I'd use that. And I also say I teach taekwondo, so I get a couple of bob from that. It's not huge money, but I put that away for running shoes. So my taekwondo instructing helps pay for my running addiction. So kind of just, I suppose since COVID came back and the races came back, then I joined the Eagle. Kind of unintentionally, really, because actually during lockdown, Ed Fitz used to organise a lot of kind of, if there was a marathon on, he'd say the Not Cork Marathon, and we'd all just meet and we'd run 2 meters apart kind of thing down the marina. And it was a good way to start meeting people. And it was my first time actually running with people. And you know yourself, it makes a huge difference when you run with people. So kind of from that, got to know a couple of them, met Siobhan Holland. Siobhan Holland made me join Eagle. And I did, and I've been there for 4 or 5 years now and love it. And look, it's the social aspect. You have access to the track and you just have people to run with every weekend, and it makes it so much better. And look, if you're running more and racing more, obviously you need the shoes to go with it because, you couldn't possibly just run in one pair of shoes for everything. So here I am, kind of 16 years later with, for the first 10 years, I probably wore the same pair of shoes all the time. And now I probably would change shoes quite a bit. We'll get to that, I'm sure. So,
well, it does lead on. I mean, you said earlier, sure, running is free, and the first thing that crossed my mind was, well, because I had that debate with Ivan. She talked about cycling. I used to cycle, and I said, that was really expensive and paying for a bike and things. But yeah, when you end up, I would say I have a heavy interest in shoes, but maybe not an addiction. But I probably have way more than Ivan my wife would like me to have. So it's not quite free, but...
No, look, I was probably tongue-in-cheek saying it. Look, it is if you want it to be, but you can choose it not to be, and we choose not to be, because look, it's not the worst thing to be addicted or obsessed by. And again, I was like you, I was kind of gradually when I started buying the shoes, you can justify them at the start. But when you start buying the same ones over and over again, just in different colours, because he liked the colour. And
Yeah.
I used to, I think initially hide them in the car or hide them under the bed or hide them in the wardrobe. Whereas now, Siobhan, my wife, she just accepts us. She said, yeah, another pair of shoes. Is it? But yeah. So look, Siobhan likes handbags and coats. I like running shoes. So, we've come to a mutual agreement that we don't challenge each other too much on it.
Yeah, and that's how, as you say, it's a healthy addiction. It's not like that we're, and it's for the good of our health. But I know it is a bit of a minefield for a lot of people, and a lot of people wouldn't know. Like ourselves, when we started, we just had the one or two pairs of shoes, one probably for all of us, and then you start visiting sports shops. And the reason I kind of wanted you on as opposed to getting the experts on is like the podcast is a bit more about everyday runners and middle of the pack runners, and hopefully we won't overcomplicate it too much. But I still sometimes get confused. Like we were talking about Brooks earlier, and they have shoes for almost every occasion. But we're just going to break it down to everyday running, tempo and session running, race day running, and maybe long runs as well.
Yeah,
they're kind of the basic. And
yeah,
then,
that's what I had as well. I had those kind of 4 sections of shoes as well. Yeah,
and then we said we'd focus on 3 brands: Adidas. Is it Saucony or Saucony?
Saucony, Saucony. They actually have it written on their boxes as in sock, as in SOCK, O and knee.
Okay, and then ASICS as well. And ASICS are quite trendy at the moment.
They are. A lot of these influencers, and I don't do TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and your algorithm, my algorithm just throws running shoes at me all day long and tries to make me buy more of them. But yeah, ASICS are very cool. Look, I think they're good for a reason, or they're cool for a reason, because the shoes are very, very good at the moment. I hadn't worn ASICS for years, but now I have a lot of them. And I bought the new Super Blast 3s during the week, and I'm going to wear them tomorrow. I'm doing 30k tomorrow. I've Paris Marathon in 5 weeks' time, which is about my first and probably only marathon, because I'm not meant to be running marathons with my heart condition. But anyway, I'm doing it with my wife. We're just going to go very easy and slow. But I'm considering wearing these Super Blast 3 for the marathon. But they're just so comfortable. They don't have a carbon plate, but they have a big wedge of foam. And that foam is very, very comfortable and responsive. So I suppose, look, when we kind of break down the shoes later, we can kind of explain why they're so good, but they're very, very good.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's winning at the moment, I think.
So from an everyday running point of view, so this is a shoe that you would wear for just your kind of midweek easy runs, recovery runs.
Yeah, and I think, look, again, because, we're probably similar enough pace-wise. I've ran a couple of half marathons and so on near you. So, like, it doesn't have, good shoes aren't just for the fast people. I think everybody probably should have a rotation of shoes, I think, just for injury prevention, because I think if you run in the same pair of shoes all the time, you're kind of using the same muscles, and you're if you pronate or over or under pronate, your gait and your running style would be the exact same every time you run. Whereas if you vary your shoes, it does kind of, I think, give a bit of relief to the legs. So I think everybody should have, I'm not saying you have to go out and buy 57 pairs of shoes like some people, but you probably should have 2 or 3. And again, as you say, the easy everyday shoe. So maybe your Monday or Tuesday run, if you've done a race or a long run at the weekend, you might do, again, depending on your training plan or your coach or whatever you do, you might just do 4 or 5 or 6 miles on a Monday or Tuesday, and you just wear something easy. For me, I do like really cushioned, soft, bouncy ones. Some people prefer a firmer kind of easy shoe, but I do like soft ones. I tend to wear, at the moment, in my rotation, I bought the new Saucony Azura, which only came out a few weeks ago. So they're a bit like the Saucony Speed 5, which would be, say, your session shoe, but they don't have any plate. They're just, again, nice and foamy, quite responsive, very light. So you could wear them anything from, an easy run to a long run. But I found they're good for an easy run. And I also had the Nike Vomero. I know we're not going to go into a huge amount of detail on Nike. And again, I think they're harder to buy in sports shops these days, apart from, say, the mainstream. Like you and I would probably shop in the likes of the Edge or John Buckley's, or, in Dublin, you'd have their own hub. There's probably lots of good specialised sports shops around the place, whereas, like, you don't really supply them anymore. But look, their Vomero is a very good shoe. for an easy run. It's cushioned, it's comfortable, it's light enough. Yeah, and I think just having something that you feel comfortable, you can throw it on. It's it doesn't take a while to warm up. You just get out and run it. It's soft and easy and not expensive. I think your easy shoe, your everyday shoe, you can probably get for 150 quid. Again, a lot of the stuff, if there's a new model coming out, maybe of a certain one, you might get the older model on sale up to half price, and that's where I tend to buy them.
And so within that, I would assume the Adidas Evo SL fits into that category then, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And the Saucony one was?
The Saucony is the Azura, AZURA. It's only out a couple of weeks. And again, very similar to the Evo SL. I think the Adidas, they were probably one of the first to the market with that. Like it's, 150 quid? I think you can buy it on sale probably for 100, 110.
Yeah.
Less even at times. Everybody loves it. I tried it. I find Adidas just a bit too, I have a broad foot. I find them a bit tight.
Yeah.
It cut my toes. I wore it twice. It cut my toes. I ended up selling it to one of the lads for 100 quid. But it's a fabulous shoe. I think everybody who wears it loves it. It's soft, it's bouncy, it's comfortable. You can wear it, you could do it for sessions. I think some people even wear it for racing and stuff. So, I mean, for the price of it, for less than 150 quid, it's really good shoe. And I think they were one of the first to do it. And now all the shoe manufacturers are going to have their version of the Evo SL.
Yeah, no, I have to say,
you wear it, don't you? Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, love it. And I would wear it if there is a bit of speed as well, but I still have a couple of other ones that I need to wear out for my everyday runs, but the Evo SL will definitely fit into that category. And what in the ASICS range then would fit into that?
ASICS, actually, don't wear that much. Easy. They'd have the Gel Keanu.
Yeah.
The Nimbus would be the kind of just the big ones.
And the Cumulus as well, is it?
Cumulus, yeah, there's a lot of them. And again, I suppose anybody, again, if you're starting off running or looking at buying a few extra shoes, you probably should go and get your gait measured or analysed. Again, the specialised running and sport shops, the likes of The Edge and John Buckley Sports and Cork, or as I said, the Run Up, if you go into them, they'll be able to look at the way you stand or run and tell you what type of shoe you need. So like if you overpronate, as in maybe lean out to a certain side or in on the shoe, and you'll see the way your shoe wears. If you look at the sole underneath, if there's more wear on one side, then you're probably pronating, and you might need a stability or a structure shoe. So the likes of Brooks would have the Adrenaline GTS as a structure stability shoe. So, again, don't just assume that any particular shoe will suit you, particularly if you're, starting off or new enough to running or buying more shoes. Measured, you might want to go a half a size up on a lot of them as well, because obviously your foot does get bigger when you run, or if you're running, racing longer time, your foot just gets bigger, so you need a size up. So say when actually the Superblast in the ASICS, that's their new one, the Superblast 3 was released this week. Fantastic shoe, love it.
That can be everything, isn't it?
Yeah, you could wear it long, short, fast, slow, tempos, sessions, marathons, racing, everything. I think it's a do-it-all.
I inadvertently may have bought, I don't know what's happened, but Adidas released the Hyperboost Edge, which I think might be a similar sort of thing. They're pushing it as a kind of it sounds a little bit like you're describing the Superblast. But they had a funny kind of a thing where you had to enter your email address and you're entering a competition, but then it asked for a card number, and I was going, anyway, if I bought them, it's great. If I didn't, we'll see.
The great excuse, I accidentally bought a pair of shoes, is it?
And for a tempo session-y kind of shoe, then I know I'd wear it.
Yeah, so it's like your easy everyday shoe, earlier on in the week. Most people, I think, or certainly anybody kind of training for a race or an event or in a club will do an interval session or a tempo session. So some people would use maybe like their plated racing shoe or an older version of their racing shoe. It might be past its best for racing, but certainly would be fine for training. So again, sometimes I'd wear, say, just an old pair of race shoes, or a lot of them now will have, say, a nylon plate. So I think most people would use carbon plates for racing, but the nylon plate is probably just a slightly softer version of it. Wouldn't be as hard, say, on your feet or your muscles, your joints, and so on. So the likes of ASICS would have the Magic Speed, Saucony have the Endorphin Speed 5, Adidas would have the Boston. I think actually that could be carbon plate. Now it used to be nylon, but I think they might have updated it to carbon.
It does have a plate. I have them of the three. I have the Evo SLs, the Boston 13s, I think, and the Pro 4s. And it has a plate, so it might be a nylon plate, but it still has those kind of rods going through them.
Yeah.
But it would be my least favorite Adidas shoe. But I know other people, they had a try on, and other people tried them on and said that was their favorite. But it doesn't have enough heel sponge for me. I'm a heel striker, but I use it at the track session.
And that's the thing, like whatever we discuss here, like you have your favorites, I have mine. It's completely different for everybody. It just depends on your running style, your speed, and then just what you like. Some people, as I say, love loads of foam, like I do. Some people just prefer a much firmer one. Prior to the carbon plates and the foam years ago, people just, they used to race in a racing flat, and they were very flat. Like we've all seen pictures of the shoes from 10, 20, 30 years ago. You say, how the hell could you run a marathon in those things? They were like a little wafer layer of foam underneath. So no wonder they were beat up afterwards. Whereas now we're very protected with what we have these days. So yeah, there's really something out there for everybody, and like every single brand will have at least one option, if not more. Like even the Saucony that I wear, say for racing, which we'll come to later, like they have 2 or 3 race shoes, so you just pick whichever one you suit to. And again, like I really do suggest going to a proper running store and talking to somebody that'll advise you, that'll help you. And you'll if you're going to be spending 150, 200 plus on a pair of shoes, you really want to get the ones that'll suit you, that will actually wear them, won't just leave them sitting in the cupboard.
Absolutely.
So I think, tempo, interval, track, like there's a huge option. But you want something light, you want something probably bouncy that'll give you a little propel forward, whether you land on your heel or your forefoot or midfoot. They all have a rocker, they will push you forward, and they do more.
And extending the life of your old carbon plate is probably a good idea, as you said, when you're going to a session, because
and look, if I'm going to the track, I'll wear an old pair of race shoes. If the weather is manky and you mightn't want to get your new shoes dirty, just wear an old pair of race shoes, and they do the trick, because they still work. You just mightn't get the same amount of pop out of them after, like they say, anything from 200-300k or 200 or 300 miles, depending. After that, they definitely do lose some of their bounce. Now, again, you can wear them probably for 500 miles, but they're certainly at their best probably up to 200 or 300 miles, I'd say.
And then going into the long runs, this one is a difficult one for me, because I find I used to like wearing the Brooks Glycerin, but they're heavy now. So, as you're marathon training, or like you're doing 30 kilometers tomorrow, like the heavier shoe doesn't suit me anymore. So like, again, I would probably wear the Evo SL in Adidas, but maybe I'll be wearing the Hyperboost Edge if I have purchased them.
You get them by mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think long run, it can vary. Like you see some people wearing maybe their race shoe or their plated shoe as well, just to give them, I suppose, that extra bit of support and comfort. I tend not. I prefer to wear, again, I'm saying we're going to wear the new Super Blast 3 tomorrow. Up to now, I've been wearing the Mega Blast, which is another ASICS one. Again, it's just foam, there's no plate. But again, it's a big wedge of foam. It's very soft. It's very responsive. Again, some people don't like it too soft. I love it. It's really comfortable. Actually, tomorrow will be my longest ever run, so I'll see how they go. But I think for a long run, it's comfort, really, isn't it? If you're going to be out there, be it, what do we say, a long run is probably anything more than an hour and a half upwards, is it? Like, it doesn't really matter about the distance. It's more the time. So, if you're going to be out there for at least an hour and a half, you need to be comfortable. So I would say, for first and foremost, comfort is your number one goal for a long run.
Yeah, I would wear my race shoe if there is, like in marathon training, you might be out and in the middle section, they might be run at marathon pace. Then I would wear my carbon plated shoes for that long run. But other than that, it's definitely comfort and getting used to it. And I suppose people that are training for marathons shouldn't wear their newest shoes on the marathon day. They should at least have 1 or 2 long runs with them on.
Oh God, it's essential. I think anything at all, even any race, you probably shouldn't wear new shoes. Like, that's saying nothing new on race day, be it clothes, gels, shoes, anything. So, for your race day, whether it's a 5K or a 10K or a marathon or an ultra, you definitely have to have tried it. It's like gel. You wouldn't practice. You have to practice your gels. You also need to practice on your shoes for the long run. So, just go with what you feel most comfortable in. Ideally, kind of lightweight, maybe or maybe not a plate. Again, it depends on what you prefer, but certainly for long run, I don't like a plate. So I've kind of rotated now between the Mega Blast, the Saucony Azura. I wore about 2 weeks ago, I did 26K and wore the Azura, and it was really good. And as I say, I'll try the Super Blast tomorrow. I had the Super Blast 1s. The Super Blast 3s seem a lot more, they're very bouncy, quite soft, again, which won't suit most people. But look, the influencers are doing a really good job of them. So I got sucked into buying them on Monday and John Buckley's when they came out. So
good man. And then big carbon plated race day shoes, which is the big one that I think they do add. Most people say, do they add, even if you're a slower runner? I'm a slower runner, but I definitely feel the benefit from a race day carbon plated shoe. And I would have the Adidas Pro 4s. I got them at Christmas, but I only actually wore them for the first time during the week, and jeepers, they were fantastic. Like,
they definitely make a difference. I know some people say that if we're heel strikers like you and I, or if you're, as I say, a slower runner, you maybe don't get the same response from them, or some people respond better to them. But like I would say 100% they work. Certainly for me, they have. It's when I started wearing my very first pair, the Brooks Hyperion Elite. I PB'd and everything. Now maybe it coincides with your coaching and so on as well. But I just think even like if you do your warm ups, if you're at a race, like I did Blarney half marathon last week, and you do your warm up in your easy shoe, your big cushion shoe, and then when you put on the carbon shoe, it just feels so light, and you're jumping up and down, you're ready to go. It just, even psychologically, you feel faster. But no, they definitely work. Like the foam protects you, the carbon plate gives you the I suppose the energy return, and then the rocker kind of pushes you forward or propels you forward. So without a doubt, they work. They can be expensive. They don't have maybe the same shelf life as your longer easy shoes, because they're not designed to last forever. They say, I think, anything from 2 or 3K or 300K upwards. I think they've gotten better. Like, I think when Nike were the first to launch them, the Vaporfly back in 2017 onwards. But again, it was just, the elite had them, then the front of the pack runners, and gradually they've made their way through to middle of the pack and back of the pack. I think nearly everybody has them at this stage, but yes, they absolutely work. And again, you tend to nearly match what your easy and tempo shoe are, and then you have the race version of it. Again, like Saucony, which I wear a lot of, you have the Azura or the Triumph or the Guide as your easy shoe. You might have the Speed as your session shoe, and then for racing, I currently have the Pro 4 and the Elite 2, and they're both fabulous. Like, certainly the Elite is my new racing shoe. Wore it last week, and it's fabulous. It's just like, I think they need to be comfortable as well, because some of them can be fairly tough on your feet at the end of a race. But if you find a good, comfortable one that fits you properly, you need to get it measured. But yeah, by God, they do work.
And do you have ASICS carbon plates as well?
I travel a bit for work as well. So on my journey, I tend to pop into Kildare Village quite a lot, and I usually send out a text to everybody. So I was up there a year ago, and they had the original ASICS Metaspeed Edge, which was their carbon shoe at the time, but it was the slightly older version. It was down to €87. So I sent out a text to one of the chat groups back in Ballincollig, and I think I came out of the place with 6 pairs of ASICS. I kind of asked, would they send me 6 different pairs in different sizes? But for 87 quid, like, you couldn't leave them behind. So it was the Metaspeed. I tried on the newer version, the Metaspeed Sky and Edge Tokyo. I just found them a bit too wobbly and didn't feel that secure in them. I just felt I'd roll an ankle or break an ankle. But again, they're meant to be fantastic. I found they didn't suit me. But yeah, they're a really good shoe. And again, if you look at the Elite in any of the world marathons, it's usually a mix of either the Alpha Fly, the ASICS Metaspeed, or the one you have now, the Adidas Pro 4, or even the Evo. So yeah, They all have a version for you. They'd all quite happily take your money, the 200 or 300 euros.
Yeah, but I think the point you make is really good. Like, it is horses for courses, and you might like the ASICS, Mega Blast. I might like the Hyperion Elite or whatever. But it is going into a sports shop, isn't it? And it is trying them on and getting a real feel. That's the important thing, isn't it? With any of them.
I, I think so, yeah. And look, over time, then you'll get to know which ones suit you. So, initially go and try them all on properly, get them fitted, get your gauge checked, get your, whether you're pronate, under, over, whether you're a neutral type of runner, get the right shoe. And then over time, once you get to know what suits you, you can pick a few bargains up online. You get them in the sales, you get them said that if there's a new one coming out, you get the older one half price. And that's the way to build up your collection. Actually, somebody asked me this morning at Parkrun, how many do I actually have? So I did check it coming on, and because I tracked them all on Strava. I think you'd be too bothered, don't you? You could have, but like, I suppose one, you track it just to see which ones you're wearing the most of, but then it shows you get an email. I think if you put in, say, 500 kilometers and these shoes will expire, Strava will send you an email saying you need new shoes, which is a great email to get, because obviously you can't ignore it and you have to go and buy new shoes. But
Absolutely.
At the moment, I have 30, I'm obviously embarrassed actually saying this, I have 32 active shoes and 27 retired. But that's over my career. So
I definitely I'll be using you as an excuse. Like, I'm not as bad as Ian.
But you wear them all the time. Like, I mean, if you're out, like I run 5 days a week. I have a coach. I'm with Tiago Sullivan at the moment. I like the structure of having a coach, and I like the structure of having a plan. So within that, if you're going to be out running at the moment, I'm kind of 60 or 70k a week. It's not massive mileage. But then again, if you're out doing that, and you need the shoes to wear when you do it, so
Yeah, it's good. It is a minefield, but I think I like you said, we both obviously enjoy new trainers. We both enjoy using new trainers. And thanks very much for coming on and sharing your wisdom of your 57 or whatever shoes that you've tried.
As I said here, we should have just had this chat on a run, because that's all we end up talking about when we run anyway, was our shoes. I was chatting to Sinead, one of your previous guests this morning. And again, Sinead didn't care what brands or type or anything. She just goes by the colour. She said, I got lovely pink ones last week. So, you can either go with the brand or the cushioning, or you can go with a nice colour. Whatever suits you, just get what makes you happy. But certainly, if I say one thing, do get a rotation. Just have 2 or 3, get them measured properly, and then just enjoy them.
Brilliant. Listen, Ian, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks, Padraig.
And that's Ian O'Brien, and that was episode 32 of the Middle of the Pack podcast. I found it very beneficial just having the chat about shoes, and I think it should be something that we will do on a regular basis. I was chatting to Ian about that afterwards, and I think we will try every couple of months maybe to have a little bit of shoe updates, not just his collection, but what's coming on the market and what's coming available. One of the important things to take away from that, and if you're in the Cork area, you should definitely visit the Edge Sports Shop or John Buckley Sports Shop in Cork. I know there's the Run Hub as well. Give that a visit. Make sure you get to a proper running shop if you're thinking about investing in some running shoes. I really enjoyed that. It's one of my favourite topics, so I hope you enjoyed it too. This has been episode 32 of the Middle of the Pack podcast. And for this week, thanks for listening, and keep on running.